Hello, B's, G's, MB's, Peens, the Genes, and in-betweens. I come to you, as always, as Charles, otherwise known as WILIscredia. It's year 5 here for Autopstream, and what a better year to celebrate these 4 franchises of, well, they're horror, all right. That's something I can say with confidence. Joining me, as always, is Cody Leach, Sean Chandler of Sean Chandler Talks About, Brian Lomax, and our special guest this year, Rudy of Gen X Reviews. Rudy, you're getting hazed. You fell for it. You really should have said no this time. So this year we're ranking the Hellraiser franchise, the Wrong Turn franchise, the Saw franchise, and the Hostel franchise. Hope Brian enjoyed chewing on those potato chips that year, because we all had to pay for it, that's for certain. In all seriousness, I don't know what the hell we're calling this. Pain and suffering, torture. I think my bottom half doesn't scrape but 2 stars out of 5. So it's gonna be a while before I have something fun and uplifting to say. So let's just get to it already. God knows I'm in pain regardless. Number 31 is Hellraiser Revelations. And if you have an issue, like genuinely, there's probably a 4 to 17 way tie for last place as far as I'm concerned. This franchise, as I've learned in the final stretch, I saved the worst for last, and the Hellraiser franchise was the last franchise that I ended up watching. Like a lot of these Hellraiser movies, they have quite a bit of notoriety for being something else that ended up turning into a Hellraiser movie. We'll get to those later on. Those movies at least have like these B, C, D plus star power levels of something to, I guess, sell the movie to what constantly was Miramax. There's no sort of cinematic language performed on this whatsoever. It's just extremely bizarre. I have more tone and lighting mood. I'm trying to evoke more emotion from you with the way I'm lit than that movie is. And like none of it makes sense. Like at all. Like for a very long time, it took me a while to get my footing on who was whose boyfriend, who was whose sister. Why did time not need to be specified? You had these found footage elements, but then you would use the same angle from the character's camera, but use it as an angle, but without the camera effect. Sure, just throw some Cenobites in every now and again and have it be cable porn. Siblings making out with one another and kind of getting off on it and being turned on by your neighbor. The only thing that's really missing from this movie is like a pizza delivery guy. I realize that's extremely hacky and old, but this movie plays to extremely hacky and old porno tropes, or at least cable porno tropes. Number 30, Wrong Turn Bloodlines. Oh look, Beatrix Kiddo. Oh, Wrong Turn. Why are there more than one of you? So I guess they knew that we were doing this collection here. Did they over at Fox? It's weird that Paramount was ashamed of the Friday the 13th franchise, yet Fox just kept pumping out those Wrong Turn write-offs. Oh, did I say write-offs? I meant films. Sorry. The folks at Fox must have known that we were including the Hellraiser franchise with the Wrong Turn franchise, because Doug Bradley, like, he's in that jail cell in Wrong Turn 5 more than all of the runtime of the Hellraiser franchise. Especially in the middle, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever, I forget because they don't keep track. It was in focus, I think. For every time I criticize a film for not establishing where we are. This movie does that far too much. And once you've seen the same 3-block radius once, that's it. You don't ever need to see it again. Show us just the front of a store, just the front of a corner, just here, there. I mean, they literally had a scene where, because the set was so small, they had to run in zigzags. I don't want to hear about Prometheus anymore, because there's literally a scene in this movie where somebody's running in a zigzag because, well, we got to kill time and God forbid you get caught right away. This movie did teach me one thing. I now understand why there's so much makeup on Doug Bradley and they don't let him talk that much, because his range is...
You never, ever leave anything behind. What if somebody found this? Then you got cops investigating, snooping around.
Well, it's something.
You can say what you like, college boy. Your reckoning is on its way.
Hey, can you just...
And why the fuck would this guy have to unmask for the kill within town? Considering the setup, the victim has nothing invested in that reveal. After running a figure S pattern, of course. Number 29, Hellraiser Hellworld. Lance Henriksen and Henry Cavill in the same movie at the same time. At least one Autopstream member might have fallen over themselves dropping this into the top 10. Another movie that they must have known what else we were covering with the Saw Trap at around the 30 to 40 minute mark. The best way to summarize Hellraiser Hellworld is take Halloween Resurrection and Dee Snider's Strangeland, put them in a blender and have two actors that you've probably heard of, and then throw Cenobites in it because we gotta put the word Hellraiser on it somewhere. Number 28, Hellraiser Hellseeker, otherwise known as any child that I come across that makes noise. I'm not implying that I'm hell, I'm just saying it's hell for me, so just relax. This is yet another Hellraiser movie, an adapted cop drama with even less Hellraiser Cenobites type shit. Can one of you Hellraiser fans genuinely let me know, like, what is it about Pinhead that, like, you think he deserves to be in the same conversation as, I don't know, Michael Myers, Chucky, Jason, Freddy, Ghostface? Like, at least they're in their movies. If somebody dressed up as Pinhead and was actually a cop, I'd feel better about it. But of the 11 Hellraiser movies we watched, I think 4, maybe 5 of which actually had decent screen time. And again, the most of Pinhead I've seen for a long stretch was in Wrong Turn 5. Number 27 is Wrong Turn 4, Bloody Beginnings. I like that Wrong Turn 4 has that, like, flashback scene with the doctor in the psych ward that essentially, I don't know if he was doing it on purpose or if maybe there was direction to do so, but he essentially played like what Bill Paxton's character from True Lies' character would be if he were trying to pull off being a doctor.
You shouldn't wander past the yellow lines or they can and will grab you from their cells.
The most incredible body and a pair of titties make you want to stand up and beg for buttermilk. Ass like a 10-year-old boy.
He chewed off his other 2 fingers. We never found them. We think he ate them.
You just said he chewed them off. If you didn't find them, then you flash forward to, I don't know, modern day, and then there's just an orgy in a college room, and then, oh!
Get a pair of titties.
Mixed race couple that is also lesbian. Woke turn. Bad acting, worse writing, direction does nothing for horror tropes. Ugh. All right, so number 26 is Hellraiser Deader. which apparently was shot around the same time as Hellraiser Hellworld, and one looks significantly older than the other. And this is part of that B, C plus, D minus star power I was talking about. Kari Ruhr. With a Scrabble name like that, you don't forget. And again, it's just something that feels like none of anything. It's like a little bit of a crime drama, a little bit of a Hellraiser thing, and not really enough of anything. Number 25, Hellraiser Inferno. I'm telling you, these all blend together. What do I have here? Four of the last 5 have been Hellraisers, and a combined maybe 35, 45 minutes of Cenobites amongst the last 4 out of 5 movies that I've ranked. This is a very bizarre franchise indeed. So it's another cop drama that like opens with a dude playing chess, so automatically he likes to play games, and there's your opening for the puzzle box, and not very entertaining at all. Massive apologies, but it's gonna take me a while before I have anything remotely close to generous to say. Plus I am on a pinched nerve. It's weird. Either the Hellraiser franchise mails it in, or they try so hard and they do things that get you scratching your head. Like there should be a Hellraiser franchise course in film school, not within the first year or 2, but just something to, teacher shrugs their shoulders and says, I don't know, you tell me, what the fuck. Number 24, Wrong Turn 2, which has a bit of continuity where they bring the guy from the gas station who drinks Pepto-Bismol like I drink vanilla Coke, and they make it so that there's quite a few people in the Wrong Turn family, but Henry Rollins is filming what was it about the early 2000s and filming something for reality TV, and that was the backdrop for your horror movie. Number 23 is Saw 3D, also known as Saw 7. There's that chunk in the middle that I'm really angry about, and 7 appears to be the culmination of all that. I don't know, John's wife suddenly is into the whole being the heiress to the Jigsaw throne, and now is evil all of a sudden, just amongst other things. No. Didn't see it in 3D. Don't care. Number 22, Wrong Turn 3, Left 4 Dead. We're nowhere close to 2 stars yet. Just remember that. More of the same, fucking within 10 minutes. We've just utterly departed from any sort of semblance of continuity. These movies didn't really care about telling much of a story, so much as it was just showing a whole bunch of shit on screen. And by shit, sometimes I do mean shit. Corn syrup, just gross. Number 21, Hostel Part 3. They do a swerve on the whole American fear of traveling to Eastern Europe, and they just kind of do a swerve on it and do it in Vegas. Hey, it's another movie that does the thing that you've seen in Taken, except expand it and make an entire movie wrapped around it. Except you already have 2 movies that have started on something kind of similar but different, and you're in Vegas. Why? Just why? Saw 6 is number 20, and you could take a wild guess what number 19 is, because we're gonna just go all the way through to the back. A bunch of different things that I didn't like about the middle bunch of Saw movies, because it felt like they were just kind of making it up as they went along, and it's something that I gave credit to Jigsaw for, because at least it, sure, it felt retcon to hell, but this just felt like the dude was like, he knew he was dying, and then in Saw 3 he ends up killing his apprentice, but then, oh no, wait, he's got a backup plan. Saw became a bit of a joke, a caricature of itself, and 5, 6, 7 were that personified, especially with his ex-wife. I don't know. She went from not being okay with it to just totally in on it. And that takes a leap. And 19 is 5. Saw 5. I don't know what it is about our new villain, but man, he's got the charisma of a broccoli fart. The dude always looks like he has to make a frowny face. It is obnoxious. Like, we get it, you're a bad guy. I'm only hoping that this guy is just a joy to be around in real life, because it seems like he's trying way too hard to be frowny face. And kind of weird that Simon Whistler was in there for a bit too. And oh look, hey, Rita's in this movie. Rita from Dexter. And she made another movie like this called Circle, where she wasn't quite as innocent, even though she wasn't quite that innocent in Saw 5. Typecast, man. Number 18 is Hellraiser Judgment, which, I don't know, this might be the first movie that I may watch again. I don't know, maybe not. If you hold somebody who I care about in danger against it, maybe I will rewatch it. But, you know, I dug certain elements of the Hellraiser universe that was so ill covered throughout most of the franchise, and to have like these accountants and the rather on the nose heavy white light for, you know, the Heaven Raiser that would check in and make sure that the books were being done properly, should I say. It was certainly fascinating seeing what could have been all of these years later. It took them 31 years to actually show us more of what could have been. Well, that's not true. Hellraiser 2 did a little bit of that, but I kind of enjoyed half of the movie, while the other half was, guys, we've already seen 7. Why are you trying to do 7 but with Hellraiser involved? Man. Number 17 is Wrong Turn 6, Last Resort. It's not acted well, not exactly shot well. There are elements of it that I feel like could be a bridge to the eventual Wrong Turn remake. And I think the reason that a lot of people don't like Wrong Turn 6 is some of the reason why I kind of tolerate it. It shies away from the whole Mountain Man aspect. It's certainly closer to something like the Wrong Turn remake than it is Wrong Turn 2, 3, 4, 5. That's for absolutely sure. Having that weird device for pleasure in what looked to be a pool, that was something. What's with hot springs and these franchises too, by the way? Based on technicality alone, number 16 is Hellraiser Bloodline. Movie starts off in space. I literally stopped the film and said, I'm not prepared. We're only at movie 4. I am not ready for Jason X this soon. I turned the movie off, went back to it the next day, and it turns out it's not really so much about space. It's just about a bunch of bloodlines. Same actors playing different lineages of the same bloodline. Makeup and blood and wigs. But yeah, technically speaking, this movie looks fantastic. The set design's incredible. I just don't understand. Something's going on here, and I don't know how the hell they're paying for these movies, because if you watch this and then watch Hellraiser Revelations, what number 15? Spiral from the Book of Saw. You guys fell for it. You tried making somebody with very little to no charisma be a bad guy in the Saw franchise and title it something that wasn't from the Book of Saw. It was an offshoot. Chris Rock, some of his B material in this movie, he must think he's Tarantino, just talking about Forrest Gump during a movie for 5 to 10 minutes. Sure, okay. Guy thinks he's Tarantino in the middle of a slasher movie. Number 14, Saw 4. I kind of dig the fact that they open the movie with the Jason Goes to Hell level legend type autopsy. this is me personally, I don't know about anybody else, but there were 3 characters in that movie that I just didn't know their names because they all looked the same. The FBI agent, the cop who ended up being the bad guy, and then the guy who had to sew his mouth shut, who was a lawyer or something. They all look identically the same to me. And now I know what all white people look like to, well, anybody watching Saw 4. Number 13, Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. This is a straight to DVD movie, or what I would call a late night cable movie that had at least Pinhead in some sort of artwork that was just calling to this owner of a nightclub, and that was really it. And then you had a Cenobite who somehow was made of CDs. I'm pretty sure somebody at Capcom owes the Hellraiser folk money for the dude from Resident Evil 2. I'm pretty sure. Number 12, Saw 3, the last gasp of Jigsaw in the Saw franchise. Even though they went ahead and made, well, technically they made 6 more Saw movies without Saw, even though I think they retconned him in, I don't know, to a bunch. I mean, the guy needed a paycheck anyway, so whatever. Out of the OG trilogy, the 1 through 3, where he needed an operation, so your game is fix me. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, we're just going to have some other guy run some tests because I'm still John Kramer after all. And because it's a Saw movie, we got to have a twist. And the twist is that, Shawnee Smith's character is actually the one who's being tested. She didn't pass. Can you imagine them making 7 movies if they just thought the only thing about those movies were the ending and the song? The big twist ending and the song? Man, we'd be up to 17 right now. Number 11, the Hellraiser remake of 2022. Hellraiser is a just fine movie for the franchise that it sits in. We are at 11. And this is a 2.5-star movie as far as I'm concerned. Number 10, Jigsaw. I really don't know how to defend this, really. You eat a bunch of stale crackers in a row, and then somebody offers you a forkful of cat food. You'll call it the best meal you've had in a while, and I think that's the case here with Jigsaw. Jigsaw, the thing that you have to do with the Saw franchise is, unfortunately, the precedent was set by enough of them. You've got to have a twist ending. That's your deal. Twist ending. Twist ending. Play the song. Charlie Clouser, cash your check. That's really it. In the grand scheme of things, it's in my upper end of the franchise, of the top half. I like that it felt like things were modern day. And then you find out that all of this stuff was, granted, this is not a new idea within the franchise itself, but the fact that you had these traps being built years ago and then only finding them however many years later. Unique touch. I had just gotten so tired of the wash, rinse, repeat pattern and the same frowny faced jerk behind all of it. It was just a breath of fresh air. All right, not a breath of fresh air. It was I was being held underwater and somebody let me out for a second. Number 9, Hellraiser Hellbound 2. There's actually the number 2 on this one, Hellraiser 2 Hellbound. The other movie, other than the 2018 Revolutions or fucking Evolution, whatever. There's the 2018 Hellraiser and then the Hellraiser 2 Hellbound that give you the most unique look into the Cenobites and what makes them tick, and what could possibly be further explored upon, only to never really do that ever again. And Yeah, it was a fascinating follow-up. It's quite rare that you get films, especially in like horror communities, and really especially like in slashers and places like that, that you get continuity and decent follow-ups and something that's better the second time around, or just, insert platitude here. But I quite enjoyed this. Keep in mind, this was 9 movies before I had finished the franchise. Number 8, the original Hellraiser. Yeah, unique idea. If this were the only one pre-CGI effects, hell being held together by chains that just swung out of the sky somehow. The sky of all places. Go figure. I believe I've spoken about this prior to this, and it's been so long and I'm in agony. Many apologies. Number 7 is Saw 2, and my first gripe with Saw 2 is Saw 1, the guy's trying to teach people a lesson, and then you have somebody who's taken John Kramer's tests or played his game already before. So they want you to learn something, but it turns out that they're a plant. But the whole thing about Saw 2 is they're all convicts, and they're really there as accessories to teach Donnie Wahlberg a lesson. And Donnie Wahlberg's kid is being used as a pawn who's in a safe place. It's got some really, really fucked up traps. I'll give it that. And looking back on it, I think I might have given it a bit more credit. It would have been higher if I went on memory. I mean, everybody thinks of the needle trap, and that's all you have to say with somebody. And, that's kind of what these movies are. I don't know what to say about the Hellraiser franchise. What are those movies but cop dramas that we need to throw some dude with pins in his head in? And Wrong Turn movies are, I don't know. Let's find a way to make Deliverance like even 50 times more fucked up, but just keep going and just make more. Saw is about the traps. Number 6, Hostel. I saw this before I ever went to Europe and thought that all of Europe was like that, and that I was going to get robbed by little children running around demanding candy and or money, that people ate on trains with their fingers, even though I never took a train in Europe. I don't know. It's a really fascinating idea. The execution's just a little funky, a little too hardcore. I would like to see the Hostel. Actually, let me take this back. I was about to say I'd like to see the Hostel franchise in somebody else's hands, but we saw that with Hostel 3, and never mind. I take it all back. Eli Roth goes just a little too hard. He seems to have that French extremist movement within him where he just goes 15 steps too far. But it's a hell of an idea. And it plays on things like Human Centipede. A lot of people have asked me why weren't the Human Centipede films in this. And you'd have to ask Cody, but I would probably answer that they would be in the place of what I'm talking about right now. Very similar premises in people's fear of another world, another country. But the things that could happen to you while you're away from home. Just more horror tropes. And Eli Roth did this. This is easily my favorite 2 movies of Eli Roth's, of his collection that he's done so far. This, and of course, number 5, which is Hostel 2. There were different elements that were used and exploited within Hostel 2, and you think of Eastern Europe and Europe, or just, non-Americans in general, and you go to places that you want to party, you don't know the place too well, and let's all split this thing. I'm going somewhere I don't know. The drugs are great, whatever. The rules are different here, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, a woman's laying in a pool with a scythe. I won't say this movie completely warrants the gore, but it does it a bit more tastefully. And having said that about Eli Roth is saying miles, because there is the element towards the end where you think somebody's really thinking things over about their excursion to rent somebody to do horrible things to. And it's an interesting twist. Yeah, in case you haven't seen it, I don't know, you really should have if you... Why are you watching this if you haven't? What? Number 4, the Wrong Turn remake, otherwise known as Woke Turn. People holding hands? That's disgusting. Like I said about Part 6, way down the line. But there's little morsels, little ideas to where you could have gone from 2003 to 2021, 2022, whatever year this movie came out. And this movie really is a fine departure from the Mountain Man, the whole deliverance with a kick element. And it's, you know, again, it's visitors, you're others where we are, and you treat this like your home. It's kind of the theme for a bunch of, well, maybe not all of these movies, but you know, wanting to be home, wanting to be safe. It's one of the pillars of horror. I don't know, we're doing this how many years now? I'm telling you that now. Number 3, the original Wrong Turn. I watched that for far different reasons than I would have it ranked this high now, but a pretty solid cast. You go back and watch it today, and then you have a few recognizable faces, a recognizable name or two, and it's this decent R-rated hardcore thriller. And I don't mean hardcore in any sort of sexy way. These people are being chased. There was a wrong turn. I think this is one, maybe 2 of the movies where there actually was a wrong turn. You really felt like you were a part of the group and they were looking out for one another. And it's very rare to watch movies. This is, I wouldn't call this a slasher, but it had that slasher vibe to it where which one's going to die next, and you just really kind of rooted for them all to make it, and they don't. In at number 2, Saw X. I didn't see this coming at all. First of all, there were whispers behind the scenes that I think it was as late as July, maybe early August, where I was like, guys, we haven't heard anything about Saw X. What do we do if this movie doesn't come out in time? And I guess they were keeping it under wraps for good reasons, because if you're into traps, you get a bit of a nightmare tease there in the beginning. But other than that, this movie fleshes itself out. If this were Jigsaw, or if this were the prequel to Saw, it would make a bit more sense, because the vigilante nature in which this movie plays out, and you have time to breathe and feel what the characters are feeling. And there's social commentary. If you don't look for it, it's not there. Forget I said anything, but it's there. Much smarter than any other Saw movie I can think of. And I was thoroughly shocked. And I seriously had to think about it for a while. But I do remember my experience when I first saw this. And number 1 is the original Saw, or as I've alluded to in the past, 7 with a way more hardcore closer. I think if I didn't know anything about the characters within Saw X, it would be a harder decision. But Saw, you woke up with the characters. You didn't know what was going on. You didn't know who to trust. Everybody had a tape recorder, for Pete's sake. And again, that ending when he stands up off the ground, it's just, I wouldn't call it 5 stars, but for this lot, best thing I got going. What about you? How did you guys feel about this year's 31? How many of you watched all 31? And don't lie. Special shout out to all my patrons. If you liked what you saw, by all means, helping both of us out and giving me a thumbs up so that you get suggested more content like this in the future. And subscribing and hitting the bell that most appropriates itself to you is awesome. And until the debrief, I've been Charles, otherwise known as CPO. Thank God this is over.